Our headlines today. The man accused of driving a vehicle into fans at Liverpool's victory parade will appear before magistrates later. 53-year-old Paul Doyle is facing counts of grievous bodily harm and dangerous driving.
Donald Trump's tariff plan, which was blocked by judges on Wednesday, is temporarily reinstated, while legal arguments continue.
Mountain rescue teams tell us the number of call-outs they're receiving could push them to breaking point.
Good morning, Grapes' own country. I've come to North Yorkshire to find out why the growth in British wine isn't just benefiting the southeast of England.
We can take a look at the papers today. We'll start with the Daily Telegraph, which features that story about NHS personalised blood tests aiming to revolutionise cancer treatment. The paper says they're set to become the standard test for lung cancer and will also be offered to women with breast cancer.
So a look at the Daily Mail. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch's criticism of her political rivals is the lead story there. Parents really do know best when their child is sick. This is in the Times newspaper. The paper reporting on the findings of a new Australian study suggesting doctors should always trust a parent's gut instinct that their child is becoming severely ill.
And The Sun teases a potential virtual comeback for the Spice Girls, adding that the group's former manager is in talks for them to reunite as avatars, just like ABBA did 3 years ago. And that ABBA revival is very, very popular.
Incredibly successful. So many people want to see it. I was just seeing a picture. The Telegraph has a picture. You know, we were talking about TV nostalgia yesterday.
Yes.
And things that people love to watch because it just brings back happy memories. It is 50 years since The Good Life first started, and there's a picture in one of the papers. I'm sorry, I can't show it to you, but it's Penelope Keith, who's now 85 years old, and it looks like they've reconstructed the set. You know, the sofa she sat on, the rather posh sofa in those days, kind of recreated it. And it's the UK, so You and Gold, the TV network, is doing a kind of special celebrating it, and looks like they've recreated the house.
I love the character she played. David Lynch, film director, obviously, who died earlier this year, obviously famed for Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive. There is an auction of his stuff, and because his films were so kind of out there, you can imagine what they were like. So if you are a fan of Twin Peaks, there are a number of coffee machines going, obviously from the diner.
Yes. Coffee, donuts.
A Log Lady ceramic mug. They're decorated with a faux log handle. Remember the Log Lady? Walkie-talkies with his name. A pair of stuffed deer heads.
Walkie-talkies as in the ones they used on the film set.
Yeah, and then a red curtain and a pattern red rug, because you'll remember the Red Room and the sequence of that. And because, ironically, he revealed in 2024 he'd been diagnosed with emphysema as a result of smoking, and he was unable to leave his house. And he'd said all this during COVID, and then revealed in 2024 this was what he'd been struggling with. And the paper says, in a macabre touch, the sale is offering a selection of ashtrays and cigarette lighters, some at least presumably once used by Lynch as well. But I think there will be a lot of interest in his weird effects at auction.
You know, as soon as you say Twin Peaks, you know, in my head I've got... Dum, dum, dum. No, give it time. You've got to give it time. Wait for it. I think I did it about right. I think that was about right. I'll try it again if you like.
No, don't. It says a lot about what's in your head, doesn't it, really?
It wouldn't... Absolutely Twin Peaks. Anyway.
An area of ancient woodland in Kent, which inspired Charles Dickens' writing, has been declared as a National Nature Reserve.
Spanning 800 acres, the North Kent Woods and Downs contains a mixture of woods, wildflower meadows and chalk grassland. It looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? It's been marked as an area of focus for conservation and nature restoration by Natural England as part of plans to celebrate King Charles' coronation. Does look absolutely stunning. I can see Matt there. Oh, what they need, Matt, to celebrate that moment, that marking, is beautiful weather so that people can go out and enjoy it.
Tonight at 6, a man appears in court accused of deliberately driving into a crowd during Liverpool's victory parade. 53-year-old Paul Doyle, a former Royal Marine, faces 7 charges, including grievous bodily harm with intent.
The prosecution alleged Paul Doyle used his car as a weapon. He looked emotional as he came into court this morning.
Also on the programme, The former Sinn Féin leader, Gerry Adams, has won his libel case against the BBC over a story in which an anonymous contributor alleged he'd sanctioned the murder of an MI5 informant.
From my perspective, taking this case was about putting manners on the British Broadcasting Corporation.
She wears short skirts.
Taylor Swift has bought back the right to her first 6 albums, ending a long-running battle over the ownership of her music. 17 years on from one of the world's biggest banking bailouts, the government has finally sold off the last of the publicly owned shares in NatWest.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on our way.
And from tip to toe, the boy from Hull who broke records running from John O'Groats to Land's End.
The Russian captain of a container ship that collided with an oil tanker in the North Sea has pleaded not guilty to manslaughter. Vladimir Motin is accused of the unlawful killing of a crew member in the collision off the East Yorkshire coast in March. A further hearing is set for September. And it's bad news for some festival goers, as those who booked their Glastonbury tickets and accommodation via Yertle have been told the company has stopped trading. Some customers had spent more than £16,500 on festival packages. The British woman accused of smuggling dozens of kilograms of cannabis into Sri Lanka. Disposable vapes to be banned in the UK from this weekend. A new era for cancer care, liquid biopsies to be rolled out to thousands of NHS patients.
That will help us know what's the right drug treatment to give. This is fantastic.
Message is clear, whatever life throws at you, your friend is here.
Simply the best role. Fleur East cast as Tina Turner as the West End show comes to an end.
And after the sunniest spring on record, what lies in store for us this weekend as we move into meteorological summer? I'll give you all the details a little later in the programme.
Protests over delays to private hire driver licences. We hear from a man who believes the stress it caused his father could have contributed to his death.
The quality of life that my dad had up until his death was significantly worse because of that stress.
Transport for London says it's taking steps to tackle the delays. Also on the programme, 17 nights of closure for the new Silvertown Tunnel, which only opened in April. We'll have the details. Towering over the Thames, the replica Spanish tall ship sailing into London to tell the tale of Christopher Columbus's travels. And the reign of terror by Harris Hawke in Hertfordshire is over as he finds a new home. Including some breaking news just over an hour ago. A security guard at Heaven nightclub has been found not guilty of raping a 19-year-old woman in his car during a shift at the venue. Morenikeji Adewole from Dartford had been charged with raping the woman near the club in the back seat of the car while she was drunk in the early hours of the 1st of November last year. A search is underway for a girl after she entered the water in Gravesend. Emergency crews were called this afternoon after 2 children went into the water near Royal Terrace Pier. While a boy was retrieved and taken to hospital for treatment, efforts continue to locate the missing girl. British Transport Police say they're investigating reports a teenage boy has been injured in a racially aggravated assault at Hampstead Tube Station on Monday evening. Witnesses are being urged to come forward. Meanwhile, Jewish security charities have condemned the attack and are providing support to the alleged victim. And the NHS is urgently calling on O-negative blood donors to step forward as supplies run low. O-negative is the universal blood type, meaning it can be given to anyone, making it crucial in emergencies. The NHS Blood and Transplant Service say that more than 4,000 past O-negative donors in the capital haven't given blood in over a year. Now, have a look at this. It is a sight that you don't see every day. A Spanish tall ship sailing through Tower Bridge along the River Thames. The Nao Santa Maria is an exact replica of Christopher Columbus's flagship, which he famously sailed across the Atlantic in to explore America. She's moored in London for the next 12 days and already started welcoming visitors on board. And Wendy Hurrell has been along with them.
So after her sojourn along the Thames, this tall ship is now moored at St Catherine's docks. She set sail from Huelva on the south coast of Spain in 2018 and has been touring the world ever since. Now it's London's turn to get an insight into what life was like on board a 15th century ship. The Nao Santa Maria is a 93-foot museum ship, a replica of the one Christopher Columbus sailed upon, the first European to explore the Americas 525 years ago.
It's one of those iconic things, isn't it? You know, everybody heard about Christopher Columbus and his 3 vessels, and then to be able to actually experience it, yeah, it's incredible and makes you think you're quite lucky, really, doesn't it, when you can jump on a plane?
It's got 3 floors. I always thought it only had 2.
What did they put under the ship?
Treasure!
Treasure!
They found it.
In spice form, that is. The vessel has an engine, fiberglass hull and other modern additions to her skeleton in order to safely navigate the seas.
If you are able to dock this ship only by sails, I pay you $1 million.
Tell me, were you on board when she came down the River Thames through Tower Bridge?
Oh, that
How was it?
Honestly, there is no words, no language to understand. You need to be aboard to feel that sensation. With crowded people, all the people looking at us, and we expecting just for the bridge opening. That's amazing.
Life on board in 1492 was a lot less glamorous.
Worms.
What did they eat?
Bread with worms.
Rotten food, wasn't
Soggy
it? Bread with worms.
fruit. Bread with worms? Would you like to eat that? No.
They used to sleep on the thing and stuff.
They used to sleep on the deck, didn't they? I mean, that must have been chilly.
We've learned lots of surprising things, actually, just in terms of the quarters and how people would sleep, the fact that they had to eat rotten food regularly. I mean, that was like, wow. And you sort of think, well, how do they then cope with that, with people getting upset tummies and whatever else, which they must have got.
For the children to be able to come and sort of put what they're learning in school and actually see it and have it tangible and kind of see what life would have been like. It just makes history so much more fun. It brings it to life, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, now Santa Maria is moored here in St Catherine's docks until June the 8th, a unique opportunity for some history in action. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.